SBN, Sports Business Now. SBN is a division of Row 27, the digital sports marketing company, celebrating 5 years of creating TV spots, intro videos, and microsites for over 150 teams. See our work at row27.com. And by FanMaker, digital marketing tools for sports teams, featuring FanMaker Rewards, the most comprehensive and popular fan loyalty and reward system. Learn more about our apps at fanmaker.com. SBN Live.
Hey everybody, and welcome to SBN Live. I'm Holly Koski, and SBN Live talks about all of the latest news from the sports business industry from the week. And today we have, as always, Jason Cole and Max Huber, my compatriots at Row 27. How are you guys?
Doing great, Holly. How are you?
Good. Apologize in advance for the little allergy voice.
Well, and then we've got 2 dogs wrestling around in the right outside, which is
it's hard to beat.
Typical day.
Yeah,
Very
it's always
typical.
fun. But yeah, it's been a fun week in sports, I think, and looks like you came up with some good topics for us today.
What a segue.
I know.
Oh, you're a gem.
I know.
And NHL playoffs are going on, and NBA playoffs are going on. But starting off with the NHL, the Detroit Red Wings and Bud Light have kind of teamed up to do a really fun partnership called Legendary Linemates. And it's basically ex-Red Wings players that are showing up to the local rink in Detroit for, beer league night, and they're surprising, the average Joes by playing on their team, which is kind of cool. I really like this because, it has that athlete participation, that surprise factor, and things like that, and along with the sponsor, support with Bud Light. But, I feel like they could have capitalized on this a little more, maybe, bring out some fans to the event or have an announcer. Max, I know you were talking about something before the show, right?
Yeah, I'd seen something like this before in a commercial where they actually brought a bunch of fans out and had that as the event. They didn't play against anybody, but they wanted to make it feel like it was an NHL caliber atmosphere. This is cool, like you said, because you're actually getting to play against Chris Draper and Chris Osgood,
right,
and test your skills against guys that aren't even out of the league that long. And were former superstars in the NHL. But like you said, I mean, there's not really that much in attendance there. They're getting a lot of publicity about it now, obviously in the post-event, but obviously they wanted to keep it secret and not push too much out. But it's a very cool event, gets them some of that publicity, but there might have been some ways they could have got a little more involved with some other factors.
Yeah, one of the things I think about doing a viral video like this is the surprise and is that element of shock and sort of almost Easter egg feeling that you're catching when people see that this is actually happening. And it's hard to promote or drive in a bunch of paid fans and have that and still be able to capture that on camera. I also think if you've been out of the league for a few years, probably not in the best of shape at whatever your sport is. So knowing that you have an audience of like 5,000 people to come watch you skate probably makes you a little bit less inclined to want to participate.
Right. I've actually seen this done, I want to say, the last season with Minnesota United FC. It's a local, it's a local soccer team, and it's, I believe, the division lower than MLS.
Yeah, it's NALSL team.
Yeah, there you go. And basically what they did is they went out to one of their supporters' games. So obviously soccer teams have a very passionate fan base, and they, wanted to return the favor and came out with signs and, horns and things like that, just to a normal pickup league like the players did. So I think that's a really cool grassroots initiative. Obviously, this is done on a little larger level. Yeah,
it reminds me a little bit of the Gatorade replay games and how you're taking something that is beer league oriented or, older average Joes. Yeah. And really building up a pretty cool event around it.
And you're wearing a Detroit Red Wings red today with the tie, I gotta say.
Or Chicago Blackhawks.
Or Minnesota Wild.
Maybe.
I think it's.
Who knows?
I think it's just a red tie. To tell you the truth.
That's probably the more accurate statement. Yeah.
Well, I went for it. So, And actually, Kroger, moving on to our next topic here, Kroger, the grocery giant, their new weapon in controlling long lines at the register is infrared cameras, which sounds very military, very high tech, but it's actually doing really well. So they can tell, the lengthy checkout lines based on this technology. It's called Q Vision. And what it does, it detects body heat. So it can tell how many people are in the store, how many people are in line, and wait times and things like that. They've, reduced the average wait time to 26 seconds, which is pretty great, and compared to the average of 4 minutes before they installed this type of software. So this technology can definitely be used in stadiums, arenas to decrease on concession lines, because those are pretty long.
Yeah, I think this is an awesome example of like a government-based technology finding its way and finding private sector uses. It's knowing I'd have 3.5 minute less wait would make me shop at a different grocery store. There's nothing more I hate than like sitting in line at Target and just waiting.
Right.
So that's pretty neat. And the other thing, not just at concession stands, but at lines to actually get into the arena. When you have like 5 or 6 gates and you have a limited number of staff that are actually scanning tickets, like this technology would let you know that, gate A right now has a line that's 3 times as long as gate B. So let's shift 2 staff members over there and expedite the process.
Absolutely.
I think the line one's probably the best example from Jason. Or if you're in a merchandise section of the arena and, the lines are getting ridiculous at a certain break. I mean, there's going to be times where obviously every single staff member from that concession or whatever is going to be swamped just based on the timelines of an event. But if they have some people kind of on hold to step in, I think it's a great technology. As far as the supermarket-wise, I think it's great if they can come up with a technology that almost scans every barcode as it's in your cart, and then just take even that extra step out of there. Or if each cart or handheld thing has a little scanner on it, where as you put it in there, you're able to scan it, it connects up with the register when you get to the counter, and then even makes that process that much more fluid, which could then correlate to merchandise shopping at different locations as well.
I know I've seen some stuff of like shopping cart technologies being tested where it's all RFID tagged. Mm-hmm. So you just sort of wheel the cart through an area and it pulls all the RFID data. Mm-hmm. But then you're talking about like $1 per tag you put in each item. So it's not necessarily going to be as useful as you might want it to be for some things.
Right. I think this is definitely, important.
Cost prohibitive.
Aspect for teams to really kind of pay attention to, especially with, emphasis on fan experience. And this would be definitely, something that would get the fans back to their seats in time for the game instead of missing out on the action because of long lines. So kind of cool that Kroger is doing it. Kroger going high tech there.
They could even use it, sorry to jump in, but they could even use it for just finding issues with it throughout the arena, where if they're looking at it and there's just one certain hot spot in an area, it might set a trigger off for them that, maybe there's a broken bathroom, maybe there's something else going on that they could go fix. So it's going to provide opportunities of that nature as well to find issues throughout the arena and then fix them quickly.
Right. And moving on to another tech topic, which has to do with Instagram and some new features that they just rolled out. And now you can tag people in your Instagrams and also brands, which can be potentially very big for teams. So in their blog, they used an example with H&M and Beyonce just to kind of illustrate this point here. So if H&M were to tag Beyonce, she could choose to add the photo to her stream, exposing her H&M ad to all of her followers. And so they can curate their photos that are tagged with her name and, choosing which to showcase on their profile. And that's an awesome way to interact with brands as far as, if you're at a game or whatever and you have a Dodgers jersey on, you can now tag the Los Angeles, Dodgers in the Instagram post. So definitely can just magnify consumer reach.
Yeah, it's great. Instagram, they're going to look for ways to monetize and ways they can begin incorporating brands and that sort of thing. So this really fits right in with what Facebook's doing, a promoted post almost once they move to monetizing it. As it is right now, it's a great way for sponsors to go ahead and activate with people they've contracted with.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that the first thing that came to mind for me was NASCAR with drivers, and they've got their suits on, and it's got brands all over it. So technically, you could tag one NASCAR driver about 20 different times with 20 different brands. So I don't know if it would water it down in that nature. If you have somebody like Kevin Love who's pushing Pepsi, who he's a spokesperson for, that's one person, one brand like there. But yeah, with a NASCAR individual, or if it's Michael Jordan with everything that he is a spokesperson for, would it water it down at the same time? But as you mentioned, you're going to get that reach for them, which is pretty cool. It adds a new element to Instagram, which I'm still new to. I'm still trying to learn it myself. I'm a very late adopter in a lot of this crap.
Well, that's why you're on the show, so you can
so I can learn this.
Yeah.
Snapchat still a ways away for me.
Okay, sounds good with that one. I like this just because the fan can really promote your brand for you, basically, like what I mentioned with if you're wearing a certain jersey, you can tag them, and then so in this case the Dodgers could choose to showcase that on their platform, another form of fan engagement, and showing the different fans across the country, across the world, on how they show their Dodgers pride. So very cool. Like Jason said, probably ads will be next on Instagram, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I'll deal with. And speaking of social networking, definitely a lot of social networking gets done on the golf course, especially, at a PGA Tour event. And they just started allowing fans to have the capability to bring their smartphone onto the course starting in 2011. But, the Wi-Fi wasn't that great. And so now they're really developing hotspots to kind of increase that engagement with, with fans and really showcasing a particular tournament. And a lot of sponsors really take advantage of this as well, especially Time Warner Cable, which was a sponsor of last weekend's Wells Fargo Championship. They installed 14 Wi-Fi devices in the spectator areas, which, again, can be a really great tool for hospitality. So, just like getting Wi-Fi in stadiums and arenas, how important, in your guys' opinions, is it for there to be, Wi-Fi on the PGA Tour and tournaments?
I think it's huge from a consumer point of view. I mean, the PGA has done a phenomenal job over the last 30 years of really becoming, almost as sponsor-driven as NASCAR. I mean, it's a very different consumer, very different type of activation, but, hospitality is one of the biggest things that goes on at these events. So bringing in Wi-Fi adds a layer of interactivity that you can bring towards those sponsors, towards those deals. And also, really importantly, brings new inventory that you can go ahead and access. The first thing that came into my mind is when you have Time Warner Cable now sponsoring this, that you charge them for the privilege of providing Wi-Fi. And it's another revenue driver for them to access.
Yeah, 'cause they're not cheap. These
no,
Wi-Fi things.
They're definitely not. And from the PGA perspective, I imagine at this point they're mostly recovered from the downturn on their sponsors, where they had a lot of banks that, for PR reasons, had to pull back. And adding inventory and functionality to your event is always a win-win proposition.
Right.
It's just one more step to get the fan involved and provide them as many opportunities as they can to be socially interactive with when you're out on the golf course. And especially if it's a busy event, there might be some cellular congestion. There might be, if you're at a certain part of the course, you might not get the best reception. This is going to provide a lot more of that. It's going to, just give fans the opportunity to share so much more via social networks. And as you guys both mentioned, this could lead to other things. They talked about some mobile apps in this story as well for the Waste Management Open, which is like the party of all parties in Phoenix. So why not use that event? Because that's the one that so many people go to, and it has such a following that you can test these things out and really get a good feel for it from an audience of that nature.
Yeah. No, I think, I definitely didn't think about the need for Wi-Fi on, golf course, just because I think of, 3G, people using their 3G, their 4G, but it makes total sense if thousands of people are going to be attending these events, which they do, it's bound to get congested. And so Wi-Fi is not just limited to, stadiums and arenas and making it, optimized for that. So definitely I think it's a great move on the PGA Tour's part, especially just keeping up with the other major sports in terms of fan interaction and connectivity. So
yeah, like you mentioned, you just have to make it as easy and as accessible for the fans as possible. That's what they want. That's what they need in today's technologically based world. People want to push out as much information as quick as possible, and this provides them that opportunity, whether it's at a PGA event, whether it's at a hockey arena, whether it's at a basketball game, NASCAR event. It's just that's what they want, and that's what they're looking for.
Right. So between Wi-Fi on the PGA Tour, Instagram, Kroger using some new technology to test their lines, some good content today in terms of the tech world. And so thanks, guys, for joining me.
No problem.
You're welcome.
Okay. And thank you for joining us as well. We will be back on Tuesday for Sports Marketing Now, and you can find us anytime online at sportsbusinessnow.com or on Twitter at SBNow. We'll see you next time.
SBN, Sports Business Now.